layer of the bottom layer of the cisterns, and the cisterns are actually made out of two. You can see there are actually two that are attached as one. If you look at the wall, for example, right here, you'll be able to see this line. Right here, you can see it also behind you. That's the water level. And in the main room, you can see it actually reaches almost the doorway. Yes. Which means they filled it up from there, bringing, again, with the parade of donkeys, bringing it in. In fact, you're filling from here. From this one, they'll channel the water to the one up on top, and so on. And a system that actually preserved the water very, very well. And as I told you, in the Bar Kokhba revolt, they made many dwellings and rooms and living spaces inside this. And one day, in the Bar Kokhba revolt, the Romans are actually attacking different settlements and cities of the Bar Kokhba revolt throughout Judea, and Herodium is one of the fortresses and one of the headquarters of this revolt. How do we know that? Because the commander of Herodium, a man named Yeshua, the son of Gilgula, and you do not need to remember his name. When he noticed the Romans are attacking him, he fled. He fled from Herodium down to Wadi Tupuah, Wadi Khalitun. You know that name?
Yeah,
that's where the Khalitun cave is. Remember Khalitun from?
Yes.
From St. George area, and from the north, so also this area. And actually entered that wadi, it becomes Wadi Muraba'at. Muraba'at is where there are two rectangular meruba caves. And inside them in the 1950s, local Bedouins found a piece of parchment with Hebrew letters on it. That's just a few years after Qumran caves were discovered, and the excavation of Qumran is taking place. And that's when they actually discover more than 150 documents, the personal archive of the commander of Herodium that ran away from the Romans, head his way down toward the Dead Sea. In those caves he was hiding, and apparently that's also where he died. And in his archive, they found a few that tell us the following. From Shimon, the son of Kusba, Bar Kokhba himself, the commander of the revolt, to Yeshua, the son of Gilgula, a letter sent to him, B'machaneh sheyoshev beHerodis, in the camp that is settled in Herodis. So it was Herodium, and it became Herodis, and then it became Faradis. Which means, I'm sorry, this isn't paradise. It's actually a misunderstanding of the word used later on. And that became Jabal Fureidis later on. So what we can actually locate here is the continuation and movement of the name. We mentioned this more than once already, and it's very important that we have names that are preserved because of the languages still here. Sometimes they go through these very, very distant variations till we can actually understand where they came from. Sometimes they remain almost identical, if not totally identical. So here we have this, and we have in these documents information about the revolt, about how they were functioning, about what's taking place, and sometimes even telling us names and locations of the sites where these rebels are actually situated and located and where their battles are taking place. So this documentation helps us in understanding that revolt. Why is that important? Because unlike the Jewish revolt against the Romans and the destruction of the temple that we have, Josephus Flavius that writes about it, Bar Kokhba revolt, we do not have a local historian that writes about what's going on. We have a few general pieces of information from the Romans, but actually from within the revolt, we have these documents, not only in Wadi Mulaban, also in other locations, that give us shed some light over that revolt. So again, in the Bar Kokhba revolt, this is also, the bottom ones are for water, but all the top is made into dwellings, yes.
Where are these documents, the archives?
And these were discovered in Wadi Mulabat, but in many, many caves throughout the Judean desert, we have personal archives of people running away from the Romans during the Roman attack upon the revolt. Here specifically, we have the archive of one of the commanders of the revolt. Unlike the others that are personal documents, marriage documents, purchase of land, part of them are quite boring, telling us how much they paid for a donkey, but it gives you a lot of information about the society of the time. So this is one side of the cistern. Here you can notice that they didn't excavate it. Okay, the original floor is down there. So this thing was very deep. Same thing with the next double cisterns we're going to go through. Most of them were not excavated, and through that one we will actually exit and find ourselves